Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's event. Please feel free to respond in the chat to everyone with your reactions throughout. Please welcome Dr. Angela Crutchfield, Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion at Riverside.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Riverside Community Care's Lived Experience event, an Ever-Shifting Balance. This event today is one of Riverside's 3 annual diversity and inclusion events that we have aligned to celebrate and acknowledge Black, Indigenous people of color, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus community, and today, people with lived experience. In addition to the awesome activities and the events that Riverside's internal employee resource groups are doing to support employee engagement and raise cultural awareness, Riverside is also committed to holding 3 diversity events: the Martin Luther King Jr. Black History Month celebration event, Pride, and now this lived experience event. The theme for today's event, an ever-shifting balance, really encompasses 2 areas of focus: the lived experiences of some who work at Riverside, as well as the celebration of National Disability Employment Awareness Month. We're going to hear from one of Riverside's community partners as we focus on the experiences of employers who train and employ individuals with disabilities through Riverside's employment collaboratives. The ever-shifting balance of lived experience, it can be found in any workplace and with people in any position. One such example can be seen with professional gymnast Simone Biles. As some of you may have seen in our pre-show today, Simone's missed vault due to what they call twisties was very interesting. This terrifying world of uncertainty reflects being upside down in midair and your brain feeling disconnected from your body. Simone said, "I had no idea where I was in the air." In the summer of 2021, last year during the Olympics, commentators said Simone Biles got lost in the air during her vault. She left the Olympic competition with a trainer and withdrew from the women's team final. Wow. Here she is, a team leader, leaving her team, the best to ever do it. And she was lost in the air, not because she was not capable, but because she was facing a mental health challenge that in her case impacted her work and even her safety. She, along with the other commentators, would go on to describe the dangers of being lost or out of balance in the air. The results could be catastrophic. Now, I'm sure many of you may have never even thought about it this way. Every time Simone Biles and the many other professional athletes step out of the locker room, they go to work. Simone's workplace is an area with bright lights, cameras, 4 apparatuses with only minutes or even seconds to get the job done. Simone's lived experience presented challenges in the workplace that day, while on most days, she balanced it well, right? So well, she won 36 total medals during her career. Last summer, she did win a gold for best team all around, even though she was out of balance. Lived experience does not mean incapable. It does not mean you can't do your job or even be a leader in the workplace. Simone still maintained her leadership presence, even as she made that difficult decision to pull from the competition. Lived experience in the workplace just means your balance shifts at times. And if truth be told, like the truth Simone shared, you may just be completely off balance any given day. What we want to emphasize today, it is okay. So for those of you joining us today, let this day of acknowledgement be a day of listening and learning as you hear the many voices that will share about their ever-shifting balance. We have some very talented and capable individuals with experiences that may have presented or even still presents a shift in balance. This event today will encourage you and inspire you. We're going to start things off by hearing from one of our ERG chairs, our employee resource group chairs, and one of our vice chairs for our employee resource group that we call POLE.
Welcome Riverside's POLE ERG Chair, Louie Mackey.
Hello everyone, my name is Louie Mackey. I'm a senior team counselor with Riverside's ACCS South County contract, and I am the chair of Riverside's employee resource group, The Power of Lived Experience. POLE, for short, has been an unexplored ERG in most companies, stemming from a suggestion by Riverside's founder, Scott Bach. Founding this kind of group has led to many discussions on what exactly we define as lived experience in this context. Our ERG bylaws landed on the definition of the personal experiences and perspectives that result from our own or a loved one's difficulties with their mental health or substance use. My goal with POLE is to allow employees with lived experience to know that they aren't alone and provide any resources at our disposal to make sure they feel supported. I do this because for the first few years I was working, I hid my lived experience. Professionally, telling anyone I had major depression disorder and generalized anxiety disorder felt that it would lead to discrimination or even termination. When I began to see coworkers with person with lived experience in their email signature here at Riverside, I began to question whether my lived experience should be made known to my coworkers. These conversations started in my supervisions and eventually expanded to, well, talking about it live to all of you. So I guess I'm a little more comfortable discussing it. During my time with Riverside over the last 5 years, I've been supported by supervisors in multiple roles to be honest and educational with my lived experience when appropriate within my role. I learned that my lived experience was something that could help strengthen myself and the rapport that I have with those I work with. Despite the challenges that come up in my personal life, I have felt comfortable being vulnerable with those around me and found acceptance and understanding. I've been able to take sick days when trying a new medication leaves me unable to work due to initial side effects. I've taken time off after being able to share in supervisions my burnout and be reminded of the necessity to take care of myself. I want to normalize conversations around these moments, utilizing employee assistance programs when needed, and encourage anyone who needs help maintaining this balance to say something. I want to be forthcoming about my experiences now because it is so important to remember that no matter what kind of job anyone has, everyone has a story. We all come from different walks of life, and in the workplace, we may never know what any of us have been through. I spent years shamed by an overall stigma and want to work on shattering this stigma by showing that these experiences happen to so many of us. Remember to treat those around you with kindness, understanding, and know that despite the challenges that life can bring, we can all find fulfilling work and succeed. Now, I'd like to introduce the Vice Chair of POLE and Director of Peer Services here at Riverside, Michael Chesnelovich.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Louie, for the introduction. Again, my name is Michael Chesnelovich, and I am the Director of Peer Services. I've lived with mental health challenges my entire life. They haven't always interfered, but mostly. Poor mental health has gotten in the way of my relationships, my education, the fulfillment of my dreams, and it made it really hard to find and keep gainful employment. I grew up in a family full of really hardworking people. Everyone always had a job. They never seemed to complain. They got up early, they stayed late, they took overtime. It looked really easy for them. They just lived their lives. And when it came time for me to enter the workforce, I was terrified. I didn't feel like I thought everyone else looked like they felt. I felt very different. I felt like I was very different. I felt like I was broken. I couldn't connect with other people. I never felt okay. I was always afraid. And I just wanted to be away from people. Not really. I mean, ultimately, I wanted to be with people, but my fear and my anxiety and just my mental health prevented me from doing so. I didn't understand that most of my life. I simply felt subject to it. Early in my life of recovery, I was filling out employment paperwork and I was listing my job histories. And it seemed like every job that I ever had ended with me being depressed. It made it look like jobs made me depressed. But I realized that obviously wasn't the case. I mean, some of them did, but it was really that my experience of my mental health challenges was cyclical. it changed over time. It wasn't continuous. And every time I became less well, I would walk away from the job that I had. I would walk away from everything and just disappear. That's when I realized that I need to be emotionally connected to the work that I do, to the job that I have. It has to be deeply meaningful, or I would eventually lose interest and disappear. The relationship to the work has to feed me. It has to fulfill me. It has to give me something that I don't already have. I've been with Riverside Community Care for a little over 4 years, and I've never had a job that used so much of who and what I really am, even when I worked for myself, which is odd. The value of employment for me isn't just in the structure that it provides or the financial aspect. It's very much in the meaning that it can and should add to our sense of self. And my job does. Thank you for listening.
Welcome Riverside's Chief Executive Officer, Marcia Medley.
Wow. Thank you, Michael and Louie, for sharing your stories. I am so excited about this brand new event for Riverside, acknowledging that people who have experienced or are experiencing behavioral health challenges are valuable members of an organization. In fact, at Riverside, we have over 50 certified peer specialists, recovery coaches, and family partners on staff. These employees are people who have experienced mental health or substance use concerns themselves and are now helping the people we serve with theirs. Study after study shows that peer supports work because common personal experiences can foster meaningful connections and a deeper sense of understanding and empathy. At Riverside, we encourage people to bring their whole selves to work because we know that diverse experiences and backgrounds add to the organization's culture and make its services more relevant and impactful to people served. In fact, our MindWise program consults with organizations and companies on how they can do just this: destigmatize behavioral health and adopt a caring culture. Also, through Riverside's employment collaboratives, we lead partnerships of state agencies and human service providers, employers, workforce development organizations, and employment service providers to help increase employment opportunities for individuals with disabilities. I'm so glad you've joined us today as we recognize and acknowledge everyone's unique contributions in the workplace. It's now my pleasure to introduce Melinda Doolittle. Tone deaf as a child, Melinda's choir teacher would plead with her not to sing, but just silently move her mouth. Undaunted, her love of singing drove her to enter a talent show in the 7th grade where she stunned the audience with her miraculously spot-on vocals and beautiful voice. She never looked back. After completion of her bachelor's in music with Belmont University, Melinda was a highly sought-after background vocalist, singing for musical icons including Michael McDonald, Aretha Franklin, BB and CeCe Winans, Aaron Neville, and Johnny Lang. Melinda became a household name during season 6 of American Idol. In the years following the show, Melinda has released 2 albums, has written a book, and has performed around the world, including feature performances with the Boston Pops, the Charlotte Symphony, and the United States Air Force Orchestra. In thankfulness for all she's been given, Melinda gives back in service to several amazing organizations, including Porter's Call, where artists can find counsel, support, and encouragement. Melinda will tell you more about Porter's Call and her perspective a little later. But now, performing a cover of Frank Sinatra's That's Life, a song about the ups and downs of life, please welcome Melinda Doolittle.
That's life. That's what people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. but I know I'm gonna change their tune when I'm back on top in June. That's life, funny as it may seem. Some people get their kids stomping on the dream, but I just can't let them get me down, 'cause this big old world keeps spinning around. I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a queen. I've been up and down and over and down. Oh, the drama I've seen. Each time I find myself flat on my face, I pick myself up and get back in the race. That's life. Oh, I can't deny it. I thought of quitting, but my heart just wouldn't buy it. And if I thought it wasn't worth a try, I'd just jump right up on that big bird, then I'd fly. I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a queen. I've been up and down and over and down. Oh, the drama I see. Each time I find myself flat on my face, I pick myself up and get back in the race. That's life. Oh, I can't deny it. I thought of quitting, but my heart just wouldn't buy it. And if I thought it wasn't worth a try, I just jump right up on that big bird, and then I fly. That's life. Oh, that's life.
Please welcome Paulo Fulton, Chief Human Resources Officer at Riverside.
Thank you, Melinda. That was amazing. That song really speaks to our theme today, the ever-shifting balance. There are ups and downs in life that we all must navigate. It doesn't matter what position you're in within an organization, leadership, or staff. Our experiences that make us human beings reflect our common ground. I'm honored to have the task of introducing a few of my colleagues who are part of the leadership team for Riverside, who will share with us today a brief glimpse into their individual lived experience. Dr. Angela Crutchfield will moderate a panel discussion with 3 of Riverside's leaders. First, we will have Patrick Chilcott. Patrick is Riverside's Chief Financial Officer. With his career spanning nearly 30 years, he has worked cross-industry in strategy and technology consulting and has managed M&A teams, as well as built shared services organizations. He is a results-focused, process-driven executive manager who is a member of Riverside's senior leadership team. Joining Patrick is Kimberly Fisher. Kim is Riverside's Vice President of Behavioral Health Services. Kim has extensive experience in inpatient, residential, and community-based mental health and substance use settings for adults, youth, and families. At Riverside, Kim is responsible for the fiscal and clinical oversight of the outpatient centers, substance use recovery services, emergency services, and the Behavioral Health Community Partners Program. Finally, we will also hear from Carol Weber. Carol is the Assistant Vice President for Community Living Services. She oversees many of Riverside's programs that provides support to individuals who experience mental health and substance misuse challenges so that they are better able to build their best lives in the community. Bringing both her lived experience and more than 20 years experience working alongside adults, children, and families in the field, Carol is a tireless advocate for both staff and people we serve. Please welcome all 3.
Thank you so much, Paulo, and welcome to you, Patrick. Welcome to you, Kimberly, and welcome to you, Carol. I want to first of all say thank you. Thank you all for your willingness to be vulnerable and share with us in this forum. It is greatly appreciated. I want to start with a question that I'm going to pose to the three of you, and I want to probably hear from you first, Carol. What has been your journey regarding lived experience?
Well, first, thanks so much, Angela, and thank you to Riverside for holding space for this important conversation today. Like many, my journey was born in childhood trauma, which was compounded in relationships in my early adulthood. And from these experiences, I learned an anxiety-based response to difficult situations, to unexpected events, and even simple change. My inner voice was overwhelmingly self-critical. And when faced with a challenge, I just did not believe that I had the agency or the resources to meet the moment. I found myself alone, often in the darkness, in deep depression, and I didn't know how to push back against that darkness. The pain, Angela, was all-consuming. I engaged in self-injury. I scratched and cut at my arms, but I could not find relief. I was admitted to the hospital many times. I was unwell. The journey has been long, and it has not been easy. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and someone has said that we make that journey by taking each day step by step, and then repeating that again and again. And this has certainly been true for me. Many, many steps later, I live a mostly healthy recovery lifestyle. The anxious and negative thoughts and feelings, that voice is sometimes with me, but I have found my voice with them. And I push back rather than accept that negativity that they want to bring.
Can I ask you a follow-up question real quick in there?
Yeah.
Was there a point where you said, or where was that point when you said, I may have something going on here, I might need a little help?
Yeah. First, I want to just say that I wanted to speak about this today because sharing breaks down those feelings that we're alone in this, right? Sharing builds connection with folks who might have had similar experiences and creates that organic culture of support that's needed in the workplace. But no, to answer your question, no, I want to emphasize that we know how frequently trauma correlates with challenges to mental health, right? And those here today in helping roles, think for a moment about the people you support and the experiences that they have endured. My experience of trauma included severe physical and emotional abuse, and then living in poverty while parenting alone. Because of these experiences, I developed survival skills, the strongest of which was to disengage. Would never have occurred to me to ask for help. Too much was involved in that. And so I both believed that I needed to do it all on my own, and that I was not up to the task. And there's my catch-22, which is a typical reaction to trauma: shut down, close off, don't ask for help. I worked harder when presented with challenges and disconnected from the very sources that may have been helpful. The fear was showing vulnerability would result in more wounding, and shame just kept me captive. So I say these things out loud because it's very important for us in this field to recognize the importance of showing up when we aren't sure that our efforts are appreciated.
But you know what? Let me say something, Carol. I think it's more than just being in our field. I think that the important piece of this today, we have so many people joining us outside of the field of behavioral health. So I think your voices are really vital in helping people understand that it can be anywhere. Kim, let me pull you into this a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your journey when you think about lived experience and your journey.
Absolutely. And I think, to start with the reason why I'm open to sharing the story, I think, we have people in peer positions where it's a prerequisite to have lived experience. But I think that this is really common, like you said, in multiple industries, but particularly kind of in the behavioral health field. And I feel like, having people share their lived experience in peer specific roles has like sort of an element of like tokenizing lived experience that I just am not comfortable with. And I think it would have been important for me to see people at all levels of an agency at the time where I was struggling to say me too, And that's really what kind of drove me to raise my hand with some reluctance to participate in the panel today.
Mm.
But similar to Carol, I grew up kind of experiencing a lot of trauma and drama, also poverty really related to untreated mental illness in immediate family members. And I definitely needed help. I don't think it would have been responded to kind of as needed throughout childhood. You know, I did okay in school and I had friends and kind of my chosen family, as people kind of say. And when I was in 4th grade was the first time I really remember sort of having a lot of challenges with mental health, but I had a panic attack because I had made a list of all the things I wanted to be when I grew up as an exit strategy kind of from my family and environment. And I didn't know how the hell I was going to be all of those things and sort of get out. And of course, that was sort of seen as we should give her more enrichment things to do and not really notice as being kind of, you know, behavioral health centered. Kind of getting out, that happened and got to Boston for school. And shortly after college, I met somebody who was just kind of blew my mind. I didn't think that I was lovable. I didn't think I was capable of loving somebody else. And like found that to be really true. And that was something I just didn't see happening in my life. Having struggled with substance use prior to the relationship and then actually overdosing after a relapse at the end of our relationship, he passed away. And I gave the best eulogy I could possibly surmise and had really been really thoughtful about this. This wasn't impulsive, but I had made the decision to end my life. And that was, I didn't want to continue to live with the pain that would bring to me. And by all medical accounts, like I really should not be speaking with anybody on the screen today. I was 2 months in ICU awaiting a liver transplant, and all of a sudden my body kind of responded and changed and started to get better. And, you know, it was very weird to be a provider who was aware of the providers treating me because I worked for a crisis team at the time, and that's where I was, and was met really differently by the 2 employers I had at the time, kind of with my struggles and whatever else. And it was really a long road to recovery, though, both physically and emotionally. My therapist had to be okay holding an awful lot of risk because I wasn't connected to living and life for a very long time, quite frankly. I was just kind of putting one step in the other in front of the other, as Carol kind of said, but through a lot of work, a lot of trust, a lot of support kind of in my family, I was able to get better. And it took a long time, probably until I had my son, to really be connected to life again. And it's not easy. I struggle in particular around that anniversary in May. But I think it's really important to make that known that this experience is sort of common for all different people in all different roles.
Yeah, and you two have I mean, amazing journeys, and I appreciate you sharing those. I want to bring you in, Patrick. Your journey is a little different from what we just heard from Carol and Kim. So I want to hear about your journey briefly, and I also want to know, why are you open to sharing your story today?
Yeah, thanks, Angela. So my journey is different. My journey is now, actually. And this is hard for me. This is not something I was raised to do. It goes against everything I was taught to do, right? You don't air your dirty laundry in public, and you certainly just keep your head down, you push through, stiff upper lip, everything will be fine. My journey started in summer of 2017. My mom was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer that had metastasized to her lymph nodes in her brain. And my younger sister and brother took good care of her back in Buffalo. And I was preparing in late January to go home and take my week, right, to give them a break. My older brother and I had been in New England for a long time, and he struggled with alcohol. He struggled with drug abuse. His whole family struggled with it. And on January 20th of 2018, I woke up to a text message that said, I'm in the Lee, New Hampshire police station and I need help. And I had no idea what it was. I started calling around. I finally got my niece, and I found out my brother shot my nephew. And I just needed to get there. And I got up to the hospital with my niece and my nephew and my then sister-in-law, and he was okay. It came very close to an artery, but he was going to be okay. And I got them situated while I'm also calling a defense attorney and trying to get my brother taken care of, and my brother settled, and it exploded all over the internet. So it was going everywhere. I got my sister-in-law and my nephew and my niece home, and the first thing they wanted to do, keep in mind, I'm leaving a hospital about 36 hours after he was shot. And the first thing they wanted to do is make sure or check if the state police found the drugs in the house.
Mm.
And I'm like, what is going on? And this is a whirlwind for me. I went to court on Monday when I was supposed to drive to Buffalo to take care of my mom. And the reason that my brother was released is because I agreed right then and there with the judge, without talking to my wife, to let him live with us while he was awaiting trial. That alone was difficult, but I was responsible. It was my job.
Yeah.
My job was to take care of him. I then drove to Buffalo, sat my parents down, and had to explain why basically the last 25 years of half of what we told them just weren't true. And here it was, and there were going to be no more lies with my kid sister and brother. And it was really difficult. About 2 weeks after that, my mom ended up in the ICU with a collapsed lung, a ventilator, and she would never come out. And again, I had to stand with my dad. I sat with him and I signed the papers to not resuscitate her and to let her go. And, you know, we then normalized, right? It was taken care of. I was taking care of my brother. I was doing what I was supposed to do. That was my job. Everything was fine. I was fine. And, about a year later, my brother's trial happened. I was his witness, and he also testified in his defense, and that was awful. I just started at Riverside, and I had to sit Scott down. I was so embarrassed and say, I have to do this. This is what I'm going to do, and I'll never forget it. He looked at me and said, well, if we can't understand, who can? And I thought, wow, I'm not a freak. Like, there's not something wrong with me. And he was acquitted and stayed with me another few months until I eventually had to push him out of the nest. And then in July of 2020, shortly after the pandemic started, and of course you got the stresses of the pandemic and being in my role and my position and working every day for months to make sure we're going to be okay. My family was hit with a whole bunch of just the political environment was horrible, and a whole bunch of political attacks that I felt like I had to protect us from. And that was very, very difficult. And as that was dying down on September 9th of 2020, my dad sat down in a recliner, finished his second beer, fell asleep, and the good Lord took him to see my mom. But we were happy. Like, that was good because he was older and it was his time, and that was a good thing. And then 15 days later, my brother, with a 3 times legal limit alcohol content, wrapped his truck around a tree. And I was now the executor of 2 estates, and I had to help my niece who had nothing and had no one, and I had to get my sister and brother through this, and I just had to put my head down, and I was okay, and everything was okay. And while all this was happening, I was just getting more and more consumed, and it was more and more closing in with darkness and in difficulty. But I was okay because I was going to work every day, and I was going to the gym.
You had that front. Everybody,
and I was going out to dinner, and no one knew, right? No one knew because I was okay. And then Scott got sick, and that was really hard. And we were leaving in August of 21. We were leaving the get together that Scott had to really say goodbye. And I was on my way out, and I will never forget it. Joe Strand said to me, I was with my wife, and he said, you know, if you ever want to talk to someone, I know you've been through a lot. I'm here. But I was okay. And I thanked him. I was very polite. Everything was fine. 2 months later, I realized I wasn't okay.
Let me ask you, what was the trigger for you to say, you know, I may have something going on here. I may need a little help.
So my family had been all over me. I had, like, you were drawn. You're used to being the life of the party. You're always out. Very close friends of mine were like, you're completely removed. Like, what is going on? And my wife said, well, babe, we don't know how to talk to you. We don't know how to approach you. We're waiting for you to explode at any minute. And we kind of hit bottom. I had a huge fight here, and I realized, you know what, I can't do this to the people I love.
Yeah.
I'm not okay. And I
Yeah.
sent Joe a note and I said, I need to talk to somebody. And it'll
Yeah.
be a year in 2 weeks that I've been talking to somebody. And the one
Yeah.
thing I've learned is, you know, I do what a lot of guys my age do, growing up poor, poor and blue collar, and we compartmentalize, and you just push ahead and you take care of everyone around you because it's your job.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember looking at Chris, the guy I speak with, and I said, I was 52 years old. I was the oldest person in my family, and I had to take care of everyone, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I learned that there was the anxiety and the darkness. And every day now, every single day, I find something and a reason to let a crack of light in, because it expands. And that light expands, and it helps.
It does. And I appreciate that. And let me pause and say, I appreciate your vulnerability, Patrick, and all of you. I think this is pretty powerful. Kim, when you think about your experiences, when did you realize you needed to get some help?
Probably, you know, far before it was not optional. I think that first moment, sort of when I was in fourth grade that I mentioned, and there were a few other instances I think that came up in markers kind of in teenagerhood or college. And really for me, what it was is, at the time I didn't really want it. Not that I was necessarily rejecting it, but that's not where I was. But a provider had said to me, like, what would your partner want from you? And I needed to borrow strength from somebody else for a while to figure out, like, maybe I need it, maybe I deserve it, and maybe it's not my time. And that's okay. I think even if, like, you yourself can't seek it or want it or open to it, I think borrowing strength from other people around you is really, really critical.
Absolutely. I think even in the workplace, and when we think about all three of you in amazing leadership roles within Riverside, Carol, let me ask you, particularly in leadership, what challenges have you experienced in your lived experience journey in the workplace?
Well, the responsibility of leading when you feel fragile at times, demonstrating poise and strength and confidence so that others can focus on the work isn't always easy. And it's important to remain vulnerable and genuine to normalize the human experience, but that's a difficult balance to achieve. I really hope to share my experiences and my understanding without burdening folks, right? Many believe that those in leadership should not show vulnerability, and that's just so old school. Leaders need to be genuine, and when the work is difficult, leaders need to acknowledge that, acknowledge those challenges to the current situation and demonstrate empathy through that shared human experience.
Yeah, that authenticity that we talk about in the workplace, it has to be present for leaders as well. So I totally agree with you in that thought process. And Kim and Patrick, let me hear a little bit from you. When you think about perception, right? When we think about the experiences, how has your experience changed your perspective of other people? And has your experience shifted your leadership lens? Let me start with you, Kim, and then I'll come to you, Patrick.
It shifted my lens as a provider. It shifted my lens, I think, as a leader. The idea that behavioral health is health, and we really need to sort of view it all kind of together makes a whole lot of sense. It's not really different. It might be frustrating to sort of figure out how to get work done when somebody's out or taking the time that they need. But we don't get angry or frustrated if somebody's out for like this surgery or other kind of like legitimate medical issues. In normalizing behavioral health as health, I think gives a completely different lens as a leader, as a colleague, and just as a human being.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Kim, what about you, Patrick?
You know, the one thing that I'm taking away from my entire experience and journey is be more empathetic, right? Understand that you never know what somebody's going through, and be willing to just be patient, be willing to give some space. And what I find more and more is, to Kim's point, if somebody was sick or somebody had the flu or somebody needed surgery, you wouldn't question it, right? But if somebody just needs a break, it's like, oh, what's the problem? And as opposed to having that attitude, you have somebody needs a break, and it's good for them, and it's good for Riverside, and it's good for the team for them to take that break. And I think just a different perspective in a lens shift for me has been so important.
That's awesome. Now, in Kim, you kind of alluded to this. We all have behavioral health or mental health. We are all different as individuals. We all have different experiences. I want to ask you all, and I'll start with you, Carol. You know, you shared with me that you entered the field because of your lens, right? So why is it so important to have open dialogue about mental health and how mental health challenges might present for different people, Carol?
Right. Thanks. Yeah, well, the pandemic has taught us a lot of things, but mostly that we are all human, right? It's been the great leveler in that respect. And as human beings, we're vulnerable to germs and all sorts of unwanted invasive maladies that can kind of creep in. And as both Patrick and Kim have said, health is health, right? We're whole beings, right? So talking about this openly reduces the chances that we'll engage in those unintentional microaggressions or demonstrate a less than respectful approach toward our fellow humans who might be struggling. You know, talking about it connects people. This forum creates a space for that type of connection that people feel that they can reach out and access supports and resources. You know, I lived in a place of shame and fear, and no more. There is healing to be had.
Yeah, I love that healing piece. Kim, you know, Carol just mentioned experiences in the workplace. If you don't mind, share with us your experience from one of your past employers that you shared with me.
Sure. I you know, at the time where everything sort of came to a head, my primary employer was really pretty blatantly awful when I was sort of having my most critical kind of challenges, and it wasn't a safe space really to return to work in. But I believed in the work that I did, the people I was serving, the place that really for me was provided a lot of reprieve and value kind of prior to my struggles became sort of unsafe and uncomfortable. Although it was a little bit of a sign of health that, you know what, like, this is the work I want to do. I'm coming back to work. You know, that was sort of part of me and how I would present in the world. So that was great. But I've also worked for an organization where lived experience was valued at every single level of the agency, had a really supportive EAP, and the active conversation as a leader with my staff wasn't even remotely stigmatizing. And it allowed for us to sort of have more planful support in an individualized way for colleagues and sort of supervisees or supervisors, whatever the situation was, which allowed for kind of like preventative or early intervention or kind of earlier kind of detecting if someone was having a tough time. And I really think that's critical to our services so that we can have kind of a healthy, cared for staff.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Patrick, this has been tough for you.
Yeah.
Tell me, why do you think getting help for mental health challenges is so hard for so many people?
Well, you know, I think so many of us, it was almost like it's second nature to just to almost ignore it, to push it to the side, to especially as men, sometimes it's really hard because we're supposed to be the protector, the provider, that fill in whatever stereotype you want here. So I can't possibly ask for help, right? Asking for help is a sign of weakness. The interesting thing is it's the opposite, right? Yeah. So I've talked to friends of mine that are going through a lot right now, several of them in the last year. And I very privately shared that I'm talking to someone and what it's doing for me. That my recovery has been powerful in that regard, because I can share something that, first of all, some are very surprised by and very shocked by, but all of a sudden, if I'm doing it, it's okay. And that is power. Sharing that has power, and it's getting others help. So I think destigmatizing where we are and making it okay for everyone to be able to seek out that help is why I'm doing this.
I love the use of the word power. That's actually the first term in our ERG, the power of lived experience. I think that's so important. And one important point that we want to make in this conversation is it's okay to identify and get help when needed for any concerns that you might have. So why would you say, Kim, it is important to help others change their misconceptions and that stigma that we just heard about a few moments ago that I think Carol or you mentioned when we talk about mental health challenges or the personal experiences that make someone different?
I think you never know what's behind something. So for me, personally, one of the issues of sort of having long-term sort of liver issues is having ammonia in your brain, and it actually created brain damage for me. So my colleague or somebody might get really frustrated that for certain administrative tasks, I'm not great. I will admit I was not great prior necessarily too, but there are certain sort of pieces of the way that I think through things or miss things that are really related to brain damage. So there's an assumption and a frustration that somebody, is ignoring you, or you may take it personally, or has a function on a team, or whatever the situation is for how it presents in the workplace. But I really do think that being able to sort of share that, it's weird, if you're trying to lose weight or be healthier, you share that all the time with the workplace. If you have a dental issue, or you're going out for a surgery, or this, that, and the other, like, we talk about it. And the reason we talk about it is because we're kind of like engendering support, kind of amongst the team and everything. And, what is that like to have that same kind of support and understanding on a team? And also, so other people don't feel angry, upset, bitter if something doesn't go as they're sort of anticipating from you. So it really is like a sort of a double-edged, I guess not sword, but kind of benefit to having that conversation.
Right. I'm going to have to try and wrap us up here. So our theme for today, this ever-shifting balance, and we have to think about coping skills and finding that balance. We have to think about self-care. I want to hear ever so briefly from each of you, any final thoughts that you want to share related to this ever-shifting balance, self-care, and any thoughts that you want to share. But again, ever so briefly, if I can hear from each one of you. Let me start with you, Carol.
Oh, briefly, Angela.
I know.
You're killing me.
Marcia is on, and Marcia is timing me. I got to keep moving.
So I guess I'll just skip to the punchline here. 18 years ago, shortly after I joined Riverside, I was invited to join the Recovery and Empowerment Committee, which was quite large, comprised of members of the Riverside community who were deeply interested in thinking together about what we as an organization believed about recovery as a concept, and then how we would act in alignment with that principled statement. Everyone had a voice at the table. What I want to say is I will be forever grateful to Scott Bach for encouraging our recovery voice in the work. This is where I found my recovery voice here, and to Riverside for striving for continual growth in this area. But let's get real for a minute here. Recovery's hard. It's not about learning 5 skills or mastering 5 strategies. It's a lifelong commitment to participation in our own wellness by building a lifestyle. It's not an easy road. And if I could just indulge a couple of minutes more, my go-to.
Actually, I can't let you go a couple of minutes more, Carol. They're gonna get me. I gotta cut you off.
So much to say about this.
I know. I can't though. I want to so bad. Let me hear from you, Kimberly.
I mean, I think just the idea that, and I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir, but like this is everybody. This isn't just the people in our lived experience roles. This is every role across the organization. It's your neighbor, it's your doctor, it's your this, it's your that, you know what I mean? And it's something that kind of levels the playing field. And I'm glad that this is an open conversation. And I really hope that that it encourages other people to be open and share as is comfortable.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Patrick, let's hear final words from you.
Yeah, I would just say that looking at somebody, you don't always know what's going on, right? And I think we really have to remember that we need to just be kind. Scott used to say it all the time, just be kind, because at the end of the day, we work in really stressful jobs and we do really stressful things. And sometimes we're so focused on the people we serve and focusing on caring for the people we serve, we forget to care for ourselves. And it's okay. It's okay to say, I need a little help. It's
Yeah.
okay to sit and meditate and turn your brain off. But I think just very simply put, you never know what's behind somebody's face, and just be kind.
Be kind.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You all, this is so amazing. Carol, I want to hear so much more, but I know we just don't have the luxury of time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I cannot thank you enough. This has been an amazing discussion, and I appreciate each of you for being willing to share your lived experience. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Welcome again, Miss Melinda Doolittle.
Wow. I'm just trying to recover from the power and the beauty of that conversation. Goodness. I think it's just reminding us really that in today's climate, it seems more important than ever to offer support to meet the mental health challenges for all who may be in need. As an artist, I know firsthand the concept of ever-shifting balance in the workplace. The bright lights, the fast-paced schedule, the hotels, tour buses, it can be a heavy load to carry with significant impact on the artist and their families. And after years of performing as a background singer for some of entertainment's biggest names, I was suddenly overnight out front, and I was like, what have I done? And what did I do to myself? For artists who experience what I experienced, there is a definite need for support to help them effectively navigate the ever-shifting balance of our workplace, for support in finding the needed work-life balance. I am so very grateful to be part of this event today, and I'm even more grateful to be a part of the solution to help other artists by working with an amazing organization providing the needed support, Porter's Call. I am honored to serve on the board of directors for Porter's Call. And as Marcia mentioned earlier, Porter's Call is there for artists and their families, offering counseling, support, and encouragement. Those who engage Porter's Call know they do not have to walk alone. We do not want anyone to feel they have to walk alone in what can be a very brutal work world that I know so well. If you would like more information about Porter's Call, please visit our website at porterscall.com. Trying to recover so I can sing, y'all. Give me a second.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams
welcome Charlie Powderly, Senior Project Coordinator for the Metro West Employment Collaborative.
Melinda, thank you so much. What a fabulous message to share with us. It's my pleasure to be here for this celebration today. Riverside demonstrates a commitment to not allowing individuals to walk alone each day through the many services available to people served. I'm a part of Riverside's regional employment collaboratives, and this month is designated as a month and again, this month is designated as a month of celebration for the contribution of people with disabilities in the workplace. National Disability Employment Awareness Month, NDEAM, celebrates the contributions of America's workers with disabilities and showcases supportive, inclusive employment policies, practices, and efforts as demonstrated through Riverside's regional employment collaboratives. As you may know, Massachusetts is home to 7 regional employment collaboratives, working to improve and increase access to employment opportunities for individuals across all disabilities. This map illustrates the coverage that the regional employment collaboratives have across the state, and it's important to share with you that the regional employment collaboratives are jointly funded by the Department of Developmental Services and the Department of Mental Health. Thank you to DDS and DMH for your support. The regional employment collaboratives are partnerships of state agencies, employers, workforce development entities, and employment service providers with a common mission. This team works to continuously expand the number of meaningful employment options available to individuals with disabilities who are viewed as valued employees by satisfied employers. This has the mutual benefit of increasing the employer's workforce diversity. With so many of us working together with our statewide employers in the spirit of collaboration, last year the results were incredible. In fiscal year 2022, more than 1,100 individuals with disabilities gained employment. We want to take this opportunity to thank our employer partners for their willingness to work with us. Today, as part of the National NDEAM event, we're celebrating the result of collaboration and what happens when we all work together. There are many committed companies who have gone above and beyond to have a positive impact on workforce diversity, equity, and inclusion. Thank you for your commitment and dedication in creating an inclusive, diverse, and a talented workforce. One of those dedicated employer partners is the WooSox organization. Let me introduce Mr. Alex Richardson, Director of Baseball and Game Day Operations, as he shares the story of our partnership.
Hey folks, it's Alex Richardson from the Worcester Red Sox, Director of Baseball and Game Day Operations. We are proud to be a part of this program today, just like we're proud to be part of the community here in Worcester and all throughout Central Mass as a whole. The Worcester Red Sox success is based off of partnerships. The collaborations we've had with different organizations has been able to bring a lot of success to the ballpark, not just from baseball standpoint, but even events, a lot of community events. Believe it or not, here at Polar Park, we actually have more events than actual baseball games itself. So we love to refer to this place as a community gathering spot, not just a baseball venue. Working with REC has been absolutely unbelievable. Just all the employments we've had, all the hires we've had, and the success of the hires, seeing them transition from having job coaches to being able to come in and work on their own across multiple departments between security, being an usher, ticket taker, even have the ticket sales office. It's just been amazing seeing their growth, but not only just their growth, it's been amazing to see the success that they've had, being able to be relatable to the fans when welcoming them to the ballpark. Without our game day staff, this ballpark is pretty simple, pretty bare. It's really the smiling faces, the friendly faces, the familiar faces that make this ballpark and the baseball experience as a whole. It's been absolutely unbelievable just being able to have so many different welcoming, smiling faces from different backgrounds. That's the key. Making sure that this ballpark is just as diverse as the city of Worcester, just as diverse as Central Mass as a whole. Here at Polar Park with the Worcester Red Sox, we welcome any collaboration, any sort of partnership. At the end of the day, we're here to help out the community. We're here to help out Worcester. We're here to help out Central Mass. So please feel free to reach out to the Worcester Red Sox if there's any ideas, any new initiatives that you guys have. We're more than happy to partner up together.
Thank you, Alex, for sharing that information with us. Now I'd like to introduce you to one of our job seekers who we were able to assist in gaining employment with the WooSox organization. Lenny is supported by our provider partner, Open Sky Community Services, and has been working with the WooSox organization for the past 2 seasons. Lenny works in the concessions organization and joins us now. Hi, Lenny. It's great to see you again. How are you today?
All
hey,
right.
Lenny. How are you?
How are you? How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you again. Lenny, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, my name is Lenny Hayward. I was born, if I could start there, in South Carolina. I moved to Boston at age 3 and went through a lot of difficult times, a lot of difficult things, but it taught me a lot about life, about being the kind of person I want to be.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your position, the work you do at the WooSox?
Oh, with the WooSox, I was a concessionaire at Paulo Park, which was exciting. It was teaching me people skills, dealing with people, dealing with myself. And it consisted of, I was like a getter. I get this, I get that, and I go here and I go there, and I get this and I get that. And we worked as a team, and it was really exciting. It really was.
That's great. So do you like working at the WooSox?
Oh, I did. I enjoyed it. 2 years in a row. It was great.
Yep. And I'm sure you're looking forward to next season too. Yeah. So Lenny, how has your work positively impacted your life?
Oh my God, it has impacted me. It's given me some insight on myself, that I can be a person just like everyone else, even though I thought lowly about myself for some years in my life, dealing with my mental illness. But it helped me open up and look into myself and see there was more to me than just what I thought it was, if you can understand.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Lenny, for sharing that information with us today. It's good to see you again, and good luck next season.
You too. Thank you.
Another one of our extraordinary employer partners is CVS Healthcare. Jonathan De Silva and his Workforce Initiative team have been partnering with the employment collaborators for 8 years, and together we developed a retail training program that has resulted in many employment opportunities. One example is Greg, who graduated from a training program, started working at CVS as a store associate, and is now a store manager with CVS. This is yet another shining example of the collaboration that takes place on the road to career opportunities for the people that we serve. I'd like to thank our community partners for all they do in collaboration with Riverside Community Care. The work being done through Riverside's employment collaboratives reflects a strong contribution to culture change that establishes an environment of equality and justice for all in the workplace. Everyone should be treated with respect and afforded the opportunity to build a career while navigating their ever-shifting balance.
Welcome, Amy Sika, Director of Recovery and Peer Services at Riverside.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us here today. And Lenny, I loved seeing your eyes light up when you talked about your employment. So like Marcia had shared earlier today, here at Riverside, we have 3 roles that specifically get to use their lived experience to support others. We have our certified peer specialists, our family partners, and our recovery coaches. I am one of the lucky ones who can say that I get to qualify for all 3. But while our job titles disclose that we have this personal lived experience, I can't express enough gratitude to our panel for taking that vulnerability, right? Because sharing your story is not easy to do, to remind us that this is everyone, right? But even more importantly, that we're not alone. My entire life has been a shift of balance. Areas of strength and confidence continuously fight battles of self-doubt and negative talk. Those negative voices exist to this day, but thankfully they're not that loud anymore. On days when I stumble or I step out and my insecurities get louder than I would like them to be, I practice that self-care. I get to lean on those around me. My journey has taught me to surround myself with people who remind me. They help me lift my chin a little bit higher when they see it getting low. I get to sit back and remind myself every day that even when I doubt the importance of my voice and my role, it's so much important than just me, because I am blessed to be the voice for the people who haven't found theirs yet. And to be able to do so for an agency that not only recognizes the importance of lived experience, but as you can clearly see here today, they promote it and they empower it. And it leaves me waking up, pinching myself every single day that this is where I found myself and what I get to do. And I can't say thank you enough for that. Much of what we've heard here much of what we've heard here today speaks about the importance of self-care. Now, as a special initiative, we would love to do a giveaway today with the thought of self-care in mind. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put questions on the screen one at a time. The first person to respond in the chat with the correct answer for each question will win a gift pack that will include a $50 gift card from Wegmans, a $65 gift card from Massage Envy provided by Riverside's Employment Collaboratives, 2 movie passes provided by Riverside Human Resources, a duffel bag, stress ball, and cooling towel from Harvard Pilgrim, and 1 Riverside item provided by the Riverside Marketing Department. I do want to say, because I know some people have speedier fingers than others, that there will be only one person can only win 1 prize pack. Okay, so the questions are, and let's get ready. Question number 1 is, providing love and care is a form of self-care, also known as A, dating, B, family, C, nurturance. Y'all are geniuses, because I am seeing C across the board. So we
have a winner, Amy.
Wonderful.
It looks like Geneva was our first one to ring in with nurturance. Geneva Di Agostino, congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay, question number 2. Taking a break from social media and technology is a form of self-care. A, true, B, false. Those answers are pouring in. And we do have a winner, but y'all are fast.
The first person I see with A, was that after you read it? I wasn't down in my chat. Allison Glazier? If that was for this question, then that is our winner.
All right. Oh, here, you know what we can do too? I've learned this is a wonderful skill. So now we know for the next one. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Next question. Okay. An example of workplace professional self-care is A, developing a regular sleep routine, B, going to the movies or doing something else you enjoy, C, attending special events for your family and friends, D, reading professional journals and attending professional development programs, E, turning off your email and work phone outside of work hours. And I see a bunch of people putting in an optional F answer.
I see Jen McCary came in first with our answer. So congratulations, Jen.
All right, amazing. You're all a pros at this, I can tell you that much. Okay, and question number 4. Which of the following signs are that you're not being mindful of health and wellness and you may need a break, which is okay? A, physical changes such as a loss of appetite, trouble sleeping, panic, anxiety feelings, mood changes. B, not feeling like a version of your better self. C, feeling negative, others have noticed and pulled away. D, having a short fuse with family members and or coworkers. And E, all of the above.
I'm hoping that maybe Amy, you can help with this because we didn't realize we had 2 answers that were answer E. So everyone was responding E for the last one.
And I didn't put my stars up that time. See, I was smart for a second, but
So I don't know, maybe our other host panelists can help us too, just because I'm not sure which person here. There's so many people got it right.
so what we can do is we will look into that, figure it out. But because guess what, since everybody is also a winner, right? So to be able to thank everyone for taking their time to be able to come here, and we really do want to be able to promote the idea of self-care. Self-care doesn't have to be manis and petties and these super like wildly expensive things, right? So we all want to give you all a gift of self-help. We are providing in the chat a link to a self-assessment offered by Riverside's own MindWise division.
And it looks like I just want to announce, it looks like we do have a winner. So thank you to our other panelists. It looks like it was Lori Brown was our final winner there, who was the first one to respond for the final question. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. And congratulations to all of our winners.
Welcome again, Dr. Angela Crutchfield.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Amy, for heading up that activity. Thanks to all of you who are with us who chimed in. I appreciate seeing all of the comments coming in or responses coming into the chat. We really appreciate that. I want to say thank you to everyone who joined us. This has been an amazing event today. And I want to thank the leaders, the staff of Riverside, those of you who participated in today's event. Thank you so much. Your vulnerability, your openness, your bravery. I tell you, it's just absolutely powerful and I appreciate it. The power of lived experience really showed up strong today. Melinda Doolittle, oh my goodness, thank you. You are amazing. I knew you were amazing before, but today you're even more amazing. So thank you. Thank you to the D&I committee, specifically Louie, Mackey, Tarshi Derival, Nick Hansel Snyder. Thank you all so much for your work in helping me to plan this event for today. Aaron Lurch, Rebecca Bohinke, as I've said in any past events that we've sponsored from a diversity and inclusion perspective, you all are my heroes in this whole thing. Your technical support is by far the best ever, and I appreciate it. Also, thank you to our partners for this event, Riverside's Employment Collaboratives. Thank you, Rupali Patnas, who's a senior project coordinator, and also you, Stephanie Marks. And to close things out, I'm going to ask Stephanie to join me. Stephanie Marks is our Director of Employment Collaboratives at Riverside, and she's going to just say a couple of final words to say thank you, and we're going to close it out.
Thank you, Angela. This has been amazing. I also want to say a heartfelt thank you to everybody. For those of you that shared your journeys today, you are so brave and we appreciate everything that you shared today. And I believe that everything that you said is going to be remembered long after today. That's for sure. Our work at Riverside Community Care is about changing lives and impacting others. Our mental health, especially now, is so important. And it's up to each of us to maintain our balance. Somebody said earlier that mental health is health. And I totally agree with that. And I think that we should coin that phrase. To everybody that attended, we hope that you enjoyed today's program, that you learned something, and most of all, that you show support to those around you. As we close the program, please take a look at the short video of some of the folks that have been placed by the Riverside Employment Collaboratives. We hope you have an incredible day, and we hope that you show those around you respect and understanding. Thank you to everybody.